My girlfriend declared, "I don't need to tell you where I go at night." I agreed. Then I stopped paying for the apartment she couldn't afford alone. She's very communicative now. Hey Reddit, throwaway account. Because this situation is still ongoing, and I need some perspective on what's been happening in my relationship. Sorry for the long post, but I need to get this off my chest. I'm 29 male, been dating my girlfriend Emma, 26 female, for about 2 years now. We moved in together 8 months ago into this nice 2-bedroom apartment downtown. It's a good spot, close to both our jobs, but honestly way more expensive than either of us would live in alone. The rent is $2,400 a month, plus utilities, parking, and all the other costs that come with city living. Here's the thing about our financial situation. I work as a software engineer and make decent money, around $85,000 a year. Emma works as a marketing coordinator at a small firm and makes about $38,000. When we decided to move in together, we had this conversation about splitting expenses fairly based on our incomes. I suggested doing it proportionally, so I'd pay about 65% of the rent, and she'd cover 35%, which seemed fair given the income difference. Emma wasn't having it. She said she wanted to split everything 50-50 because she didn't want to feel like she owed me anything or was dependent on me. I respected that, even though it meant she'd be paying about $1,200 in rent alone, which is almost 40% of her take-home pay. I warned her it might be tight, but she insisted she could handle it and didn't want any special treatment. For the first 6 months, things were pretty good. We settled into a routine, split the bills down the middle, and everything seemed to work. Emma was sometimes stressed about money, but she never asked for help and I didn't push it. I figured if she needed assistance, she'd speak up. The problem started about 2 months ago. Emma began going out more frequently at night, which by itself wasn't a big deal. Everyone needs their own social life, right? But it was the way she was doing it that bothered me. She'd get ready, all dressed up, and when I'd casually ask where she was heading, she'd give these vague answers. Just meeting some friends, she'd say, or going to this place downtown. When I'd ask which friends or what place, thinking I might know them or the spot, she'd get annoyed and say things like, "Does it matter?" Or, "I'll tell you when I get back." At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe she was planning a surprise or just wanted some independence. But the pattern continued. Every Tuesday and Friday night, like clockwork, she'd get dolled up and disappear for hours. She'd come home around midnight or later, often smelling like alcohol and cigarettes, even though she doesn't smoke. The weird part was how secretive she became about her phone during this time. Emma had never been the type to hide her phone before. We'd regularly use each other's phones to look something up or take photos. But suddenly, she was keeping it face down, taking it with her to the bathroom, and getting jumpy when it buzzed around me. One night, about 3 weeks ago, I decided to have a conversation about it. I waited until she was getting ready for one of her mystery nights out. She was in the bathroom doing her makeup, and I knocked on the door. "Hey, can we talk for a minute?" I called through the door. "I'm getting ready," she replied. "Can it wait?" "It'll just take a second," I said. She opened the door, looking annoyed. "What's up?" I tried to keep my tone casual and non-accusatory. "I've just noticed you've been going out more lately, and I was wondering if everything's okay. You seem stressed, and you're being kind of secretive about where you're going." Her face immediately hardened. "Secretive? I'm not being secretive." "Well, when I ask where you're going, you don't really give me a straight answer," I said. "I'm not trying to control you or anything. I just like to know generally where you are, you know? For safety reasons, if nothing else." That's when she dropped the line that started all of this. "I don't need to tell you where I go at night. I'm an adult, and I can go wherever I want without reporting to you." I was taken aback by how defensive she got. "I'm not asking you to report to me. I'm just asking because I care about you and—" "No," she cut me off. "This is exactly what I was afraid of when we moved in together. I knew you'd start trying to control me and act like you own me just because we live together." "Emma, that's not what this is about at all," I said, trying to stay calm. "I'm just concerned because you're acting differently. If you want to go out, that's totally fine. I just don't understand why you can't tell me where you're going." She was putting on her earrings now, clearly done with the conversation. "Because I don't have to. We're not married. You're not my father. I don't need to check in with you about every little thing I do." I stood there for a moment, processing what she'd said. The way she was framing it made me sound like some controlling psycho for wanting basic communication in our relationship. "Okay," I said finally. "You're right. You don't have to tell me anything." She looked surprised that I'd agreed so easily. "Thank you," she said, grabbing her purse. "I'll see you later." After she left, I sat on the couch thinking about the conversation. Was I being controlling? I didn't think so. In every relationship I'd been in, partners generally told each other where they were going. Not out of obligation, but just as part of normal communication. If I was going out with friends, I'd naturally mention it to Emma. Hey, going to grab drinks with Mike and the guys at O'Malley's. Simple stuff like that. But Emma had made it clear she didn't want that kind of communication, and she had every right to set that boundary. If she wanted to keep her nighttime activities private, that was her choice. I could respect that. The thing is, respect goes both ways. Over the next week, I started thinking about our whole arrangement differently. If Emma wanted complete independence and privacy about her activities, then why were we splitting expenses like a committed couple? She was essentially living a single person's lifestyle while enjoying the financial benefits of being in a relationship. I began paying attention to our spending patterns and realized something interesting. On the nights Emma went out, she was spending money we didn't really have. I'd see charges on her credit card for expensive cocktails, Uber rides to fancy restaurants, and late-night food deliveries. Meanwhile, she was constantly stressed about making her half of the rent and had started buying generic groceries and skipping social events with our mutual friends because they were too expensive. Something didn't add up. Something didn't. If she was so worried about money that she couldn't afford to go to dinner with our friends, where was she getting the cash for these mysterious nights out? And more importantly, why was I subsidizing her lifestyle by covering the apartment she couldn't afford while she spent money on activities she couldn't or wouldn't tell me about? That's when I had what you might call a realization. Emma had essentially told me she wanted to live like a single person when it came to accountability and communication. So why shouldn't she live like a single person when it came to finances too? I spent a few days thinking about it, and then I made a decision. If Emma wanted complete independence, I was going to give it to her. I started by doing some research on apartments in our area. I found several nice one-bedroom places in decent neighborhoods for around $1,400 to $1,600 per month. Still expensive for someone making Emma's salary, but more manageable than trying to cover half of our current place. I also looked at my own options. With my income, I could easily afford our current apartment on my own, or I could find something smaller and pocket the difference. Either way, I'd be better off financially than I was splitting everything 50-50 with someone who was clearly struggling to make ends meet. The plan I came up with was simple, and, I thought, completely fair. I would give Emma 60 days notice that I was moving out when our lease ended. That would give her plenty of time to find a roommate, find a cheaper place, or figure out some other arrangement. I wasn't going to be vindictive or try to screw her over. I was just going to stop subsidizing her lifestyle. Because here's the thing nobody talks about when you split expenses 50-50 with someone who makes significantly less money. The higher earner is always subsidizing the lower earner's lifestyle. If Emma had been living alone, she would have been in a one-bedroom apartment in a less expensive neighborhood, taking the bus instead of splitting an expensive parking spot, and cooking at home instead of splitting the cost of premium grocery shopping and frequent takeout orders. By agreeing to split everything equally, I had essentially allowed her to live beyond her means. And that was fine when we were partners, sharing our lives and communicating openly. But if she wanted to keep her activities secret and live like a single person, then she could afford to live like a single person too. The next Tuesday, when Emma was getting ready for another one of her mystery nights, I decided to have a conversation. She was in the bedroom, putting on a dress I'd never seen before, when I knocked on the doorframe. Hey, can we talk for a minute? I asked. She glanced at me in the mirror. I'm almost ready to go. This won't take long, I said. I wanted to let you know that I've decided not to renew our lease when it's up in December. She turned around, her face confused. What? Why? I've been thinking about what you said last week about independence and not needing to tell me where you go, I said. And you're absolutely right. You don't owe me any explanations about your activities. But I realized that if you want that level of independence, it doesn't make sense for us to be financially intertwined. What does that mean? She asked, and I could see a hint of worry in her eyes. It means I think you should have the freedom to live your life however you want without having to consider me or our shared expenses, I said. So I'm going to find my own place, and you can decide what you want to do about this apartment. Emma stared at me for a long moment. You're breaking up with me? I'm not breaking up with you, I said. I'm just saying we should live separately. If you want to keep dating, we can keep dating. But I don't think it makes sense for us to share expenses if we're not sharing our lives. Oh, but I can't afford this place on my own, she said, and there was a panic in her voice I hadn't heard before. I know, I said. That's why I'm giving you 2 months' notice. You can find a roommate, or you can find a place you can afford on your own. There are plenty of options. She was quiet for a moment, processing what I'd said. This is because I wouldn't tell you where I go at night? This is because you made it clear that you want independence and privacy, I said. And I respect that. I just think your living situation should match your lifestyle preferences. That's not, I didn't mean, she started, but then her phone buzzed, and she glanced at it. Whatever she saw there seemed to make her remember where she was supposed to be going. I have to go. We'll talk about this when I get back. Sure, I said. Have a good night. After she left, I felt a weird sense of relief. I hadn't been angry or vindictive. I'd simply told her the truth. If she wanted to live like a single person, she could live like a single person. No harm, no foul. The next morning, Emma tried to bring it up again, but I could tell her heart wasn't really in the conversation. She was distracted, checking her phone constantly, and when I tried to explain my reasoning, she just nodded absently and said we'd figure it out later. That pattern continued for the next week. Emma would bring up the apartment situation sporadically, but she was clearly preoccupied with other things. Her Tuesday and Friday night outings continued, and she remained just as secretive about them as before. If anything, she seemed more secretive, often taking phone calls in the other room and stepping outside to text. I started quietly looking for a new apartment and found a great one-bedroom place about 10 minutes from my office. It was actually nicer than our current apartment, with better amenities, and it would cost me about $400 less per month than what I was currently paying. I put in an application and got approved within a few days. 2 weeks after our initial conversation, I told Emma I'd found a place and would be moving out at the end of November, giving her a full month to make arrangements for December rent. That's when reality seemed to hit her. Wait, you're serious about this? She asked, looking up from her phone for the first time in days. Of course I'm serious, I said. I told you I was moving out. But I thought you were just trying to make a point, she said. I thought you'd change your mind. Why would I change my mind? I asked. You made it clear you want independence. I'm giving it to you. That's when she tried a different approach. Look, maybe I was a little harsh about the whole not telling you where I go thing. I just felt like you were being possessive. I wasn't being possessive, I said. But it doesn't matter now. You established a boundary, and I respect it. I just think we should live according to that boundary. But what if I'm okay with telling you where I go now? She asked. Are you going to tell me where you went last Friday? I asked. She hesitated. It's complicated. That's what I thought, I said. Emma, you have every right to keep your activities private. I'm not trying to force you to change. I'm just saying that if that's how you want to live, you should live independently. The conversation ended there, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. Over the next few days, Emma's behavior started changing. She was more attentive when she was home, asking about my day and trying to initiate conversations about our relationship. But she still went out on her regular nights, and she still wouldn't tell me where she was going. The breaking point came the following Tuesday. Emma was getting ready for her night out when her phone rang. She answered it in the bedroom, but I could hear her talking, and she sounded upset. When she came out, she looked frazzled. I have to cancel tonight, she said, putting her phone in her purse. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, just, my friend had something come up, she said, but she looked nervous. The next morning, I found out why. Emma's credit card was declined when she tried to buy coffee on her way to work. She called me from the coffee shop, embarrassed and asking if I could transfer her some money to cover it. How much do you need? I asked. Just like $20, she said. I'll pay you back on Friday when I get paid. I transferred the money, but it got me thinking. If Emma was so broke that her card was getting declined for a $5 coffee, how had she been funding her expensive nights out? The only logical explanation was that she'd been putting it all on credit and was now hitting her limits. That evening, I decided to have a frank conversation about money. I'd been planning to wait until closer to my move-out date, but Emma's financial situation seemed to be deteriorating faster than I'd expected. Hey, can we talk about the apartment situation? I asked when she got home from work. Sure, she said, but she looked tired and stressed. I'm just wondering if you've made any progress on finding a roommate or a new place, I said. I know it's still a few weeks away, but these things take time to arrange. Emma sat down on the couch and buried her face in her hands. I can't afford this place without you, she said, and I can't find anyone who wants to split it. Everyone thinks it's too expensive. What about finding a cheaper place? I asked. I've looked, she said, but everywhere that's affordable is either a complete dump or way out in the suburbs. I'd have to take 2 buses to get to work. What about getting a roommate for a cheaper place? I suggested. I've tried, she said, but no one wants to live with someone they don't know, and all my friends either already have living situations or can't afford even a cheap place. I could see the stress was getting to her. Emma, what's going on with your finances? Last week your card got declined for coffee. She was quiet for a long moment. I've been using my credit cards more than I should, she admitted. The rent here is really hard for me to manage, and I've had some extra expenses lately. What kind of extra expenses? I asked. She hesitated. Just Going out and stuff. The nights when you don't tell me where you're going? I asked. Yes, she said quietly. I sat back, trying to process this. Emma, you're going into debt to pay for activities you won't tell me about, while simultaneously telling me you don't need to communicate with me about your life. Do you see how that doesn't make sense? I know it doesn't make sense, she said, and for the first time in weeks, she looked like she wanted to have an actual conversation. I've been confused about things. What kind of things? I asked. She was quiet for a long time. There's this guy at work, she finally said. And there it was. The truth I'd been suspecting, but hoping I was wrong about. What about this guy at work? I asked, keeping my voice level. He's been showing interest in me, she said. And he's been taking me out to nice places. Really nice places. The kind of places I could never afford on my own. The Tuesday and Friday nights? I asked. Yes, she whispered. I felt a weird combination of vindication and disappointment. I'd known something was off, but having it confirmed still stung. So you've been dating someone else? It's not dating, she said quickly. It's just, he invites me to things and I go. Expensive restaurants, shows, events. He pays for everything. Emma, that's dating, I said. No, it's not, she insisted. We're not sleeping together. We're just hanging out. Are you attracted to him? I asked. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Does he know about me? I asked. He knows I have a boyfriend, she said. But I told him we're having problems. Are we having problems? I asked. I don't know, she said. And she started crying. I don't know what I want. Alex is exciting and successful. And he takes me to places I've never been. But I love you. I think I love you. I'm just confused. I sat there watching her cry, and I felt surprisingly calm. The mystery was solved. Emma had been essentially dating this Alex guy on Tuesday and Friday nights, letting him pay for expensive experiences she couldn't afford, while coming home to the apartment I was helping her afford, and the relationship that provided her with stability. So let me make sure I understand this, I said. You've been going on dates with this Alex guy, letting him spend money on you, while I pay for your living expenses. And when I asked you about it, you told me I was being controlling, and that you didn't need to tell me where you go at night. It's not like that, she said through her tears. What's it like then? I asked. I don't know, she said. I've been confused and I made bad choices, but I never crossed any serious lines with Alex. We haven't even kissed. But you wanted to, I said. She didn't answer. Emma, you've been emotionally cheating on me for months while I paid your bills, I said. And when I tried to talk to you about the changes in your behavior, you shut me down and told me I was being controlling. I know, she whispered. I know I messed up. So what do you want to do now? I asked. I want to fix this, she said. I want to stop seeing Alex and work on our relationship. Why? I asked. Because I realize that what I have with you is real, she said. With Alex, it's just fantasy. He shows me this expensive lifestyle, but it's not real life. You and I have real life that you can't afford, I pointed out. I know, she said, but maybe we could work something out with the rent. Maybe you could pay more, and I could pay less. So you want to fix our relationship by having me subsidize your lifestyle even more than I already do? I asked. That's not what I meant, she said. What did you mean then? I asked. She was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I just know I don't want to lose you. Emma, you already lost me, I said. And I realized it was true as I said it. You lost me when you decided to start dating someone else and lie to me about it. You lost me when you told me I was controlling for wanting basic communication in our relationship. You lost me when you chose to go into debt to impress another man while I paid your bills. But I'll change, she said. I'll tell Alex I can't see him anymore. I'll be completely transparent about where I go and who I'm with. Why should I believe that? I asked. You've been lying to me for months. You've been choosing him over me for months. Why would that change now? Because I realized I was making a mistake, she said. No, I said. You realized you couldn't afford to keep making that mistake. Your credit cards are maxed out. You can't afford the apartment without me, and Alex isn't offering to move in with you and split expenses. So now you want to come back to the safe option. She looked stricken. That's not true. Isn't it? I asked. If your financial situation hadn't forced your hand, would you have told me about Alex? She didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. Emma, I'm moving out at the end of the month. What you do about this apartment and your relationship with Alex is up to you. But I'm done being your backup plan. The conversation ended there, but Emma wasn't ready to give up. Over the next few days, she tried everything she could think of to change my mind. She offered to pay a bigger share of the rent, even though we both knew she couldn't afford it. She suggested couples counseling. She promised to cut all contact with Alex and be completely transparent about her activities. But the damage was done. It wasn't just about the other guy, although that was bad enough. It was about the pattern of behavior Emma had shown. When I'd tried to address my concerns about her secretiveness, she'd shut me down and made me feel like I was the problem. She'd prioritized her own desires over our relationship and had been perfectly willing to let me subsidize her lifestyle while she explored her options with someone else. The most telling thing was her reaction when I'd told her I was moving out. She hadn't been devastated about losing me. She'd been panicked about losing her financial stability. Even now, her main arguments for why I should stay were practical ones about rent and shared expenses, not emotional ones about love and partnership. 2 weeks before my move-out date, Emma made one last attempt to fix things. She came home from work with flowers and a long letter she'd written, apologizing for everything and promising to change. I told Alex I can't see him anymore, she said. I realize now that I was using him to escape from some fears I have about commitment, and that wasn't fair to either of you. What fears about commitment? I asked. I think I was scared that if I got too comfortable in our relationship, I'd lose myself, she said. So I was keeping one foot out the door with Alex, just in case. Just in case what? I asked. Just in case you turned out to be controlling or possessive or demanding, she said. Just in case I needed an escape route. I nodded. So you were using me for stability and using him for excitement and escape. I guess so, she admitted. But I realize now that was wrong. I want to be fully committed to you and to us. Emma, you don't get to be fully committed to me now, I said. You already showed me how you handle commitment when things get comfortable. You keep backup plans. But I've learned from this, she insisted. I know what I want now. You know what you want because your other option didn't work out, I said. Alex didn't offer you a way out of your financial problems, so now you want to recommit to the guy who was paying your bills while you figured out your feelings. She started crying again. That's not fair. What's not fair is what you did to me, I said. You want to talk about fears and commitment? How do you think it felt to have my girlfriend disappear twice a week without explanation? How do you think it felt to be told I was controlling for wanting basic communication? How do you think it felt to find out I was subsidizing your dates with another man? I know I hurt you, she said, but people make mistakes. Don't I deserve a chance to make this right? You had chances to make it right, I said. Every time I tried to talk to you about what was going on, you shut me down. You made your choices, Emma. Now you get to live with them. I moved out the following weekend. Emma had managed to find a roommate at the last minute, a coworker who was getting divorced and needed a temporary place to stay. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it would buy her a few months to figure out her next steps. On my last day in the apartment, Emma tried one more time to convince me to stay. We could start over, she said, watching me pack the last of my things. New apartment, fresh start, better communication. Emma, you're still missing the point, I said. This isn't about communication or fresh starts. This is about trust and respect. You showed me that when things get comfortable, you look for escape routes. You showed me that you're willing to lie to me and manipulate me to get what you want. That's not something that gets fixed with a change of address. But I love you, she said. Maybe you do, I said, but you don't respect me. And I can't be in a relationship with someone who doesn't respect me. That was 3 months ago. I've been living in my new apartment and honestly loving it. It's smaller than the place Emma and I shared, but it's all mine. I don't have to split expenses with anyone. I don't have to wonder where my partner is going twice a week, and I don't have to subsidize anyone else's lifestyle choices. I heard through mutual friends that Emma's living situation didn't work out. Her roommate moved out after 2 months, and Emma couldn't afford the place on her own. She ended up moving back in with her parents and taking a second job to pay off her credit card debt. As for Alex, apparently that relationship didn't develop into anything serious. According to the same friends, he was indeed married and was just looking for someone to entertain him occasionally. Emma found out when his wife called her. Emma has tried to contact me a few times since I moved out. She's sent long texts apologizing and asking if we can talk. She's reached out through mutual friends. She even showed up at my new apartment once, though I didn't answer the door. The thing is, I'm not angry at her anymore. I understand why she did what she did. She was scared of commitment and wanted to keep her options open. She liked the excitement and fantasy that Alex provided, but she also liked the stability and security I provided. She thought she could have both without consequences. But actions have consequences, even when you don't think they should. Emma wanted independence and privacy, so I gave it to her. She wanted to explore her options, so I removed myself as an option. She wanted to live like a single person, so I stopped subsidizing her lifestyle as if we were committed partners. I don't regret my decision. In fact, I think it was the healthiest thing I could have done for both of us. Emma needed to learn that she can't have her cake and eat it too. She can't keep one foot out the door of a relationship while expecting her partner to remain fully committed. She can't lie and manipulate and then expect forgiveness when the consequences catch up with her. And I needed to learn that I deserve better than being someone's backup plan. I deserve to be with someone who chooses me enthusiastically, not someone who chooses me because their other options didn't work out. The last text I got from Emma was about 2 weeks ago. It just said, "I miss you. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I've changed. I'm in therapy and working on myself. I understand now what I put you through, and I'm sorry." I didn't respond, not because I'm trying to be cruel, but because I genuinely don't think there's anything left to say. We want different things from relationships. Emma wants flexibility and options and escape routes. I want partnership and commitment and trust. Those aren't compatible, and that's okay. We're both better off with people who share our values and relationship styles. Sometimes people ask me if I think I was too harsh, cutting her off financially when she couldn't afford the apartment. But I don't see it that way. I wasn't punishing her. I was just refusing to subsidize a lifestyle that didn't include me as a real partner. Emma made it clear that she wanted independence and privacy. I simply made sure her living situation matched her stated preferences. If she wanted to act single, she could afford to live single. The fact that she couldn't afford to live that way isn't my problem to solve, especially when she was using my financial support to fund dates with another man. I think a lot of people get confused about what financial abuse looks like versus what reasonable boundaries look like. Financial abuse is when someone controls their partner's access to their own money, or prevents them from working or forces them into financial dependence. What I did was refuse to continue financially supporting someone who was lying to me and emotionally cheating on me. That's not abuse. That's self-respect. Emma had her own job and her own income. She could have afforded to live independently if she'd made different choices about her spending and her living situation. The fact that she preferred to live beyond her means while exploring other relationship options doesn't obligate me to subsidize those choices. Looking back, I think the real problem was that Emma and I had very different ideas about what our relationship was. I thought we were building a life together, sharing expenses and responsibilities and planning for the future. Emma thought we were two independent people who happened to live together and split bills. Neither approach is wrong, but they're not compatible with each other. If Emma had been upfront about wanting that level of independence from the beginning, I could have made an informed decision about whether that worked for me. Instead, she presented herself as someone who wanted a committed partnership while secretly maintaining the mindset and behavior of a single person. That's not fair to either person in the relationship. I'm dating someone new now, and it's completely different. Sarah is a teacher who makes about the same amount of money Emma did, but our approach to finances and communication is totally different. We're honest about where we're going and who we're with. We split expenses proportionally based on our incomes, and we both contribute fairly to our shared life. Most importantly, Sarah wants to be with me. She's not keeping one foot out the door or maintaining backup plans. When she commits to something, she commits fully. That makes all the difference in the world. I know some people might read this and think I was petty or vindictive, but I genuinely believe that what I did was the healthiest response to an unhealthy situation. Emma wanted to live like a single person while enjoying the benefits of being in a relationship. I simply made sure her reality matched her choices. If you're in a similar situation where your partner wants independence and privacy, but also wants you to subsidize their lifestyle, I'd encourage you to think carefully about what you're really signing up for. Partnership should be mutual. If it's not, then maybe it's not really partnership at all. And if someone tells you they don't need to tell you where they go at night, believe them. But also believe that you don't need to pay for the apartment they can't afford while they're going to those places they won't tell you about. Respect goes both ways. So does independence. Emma is very communicative now, by the way. She sent me detailed explanations of everything that happened, complete timelines of her relationship with Alex, and thorough apologies for every mistake she made. Funny how losing your financial safety net can suddenly make you realize the value of transparency and communication. But it's too late for that now. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Sometimes the best thing you can do for everyone involved is to let them stay burned and build new ones somewhere else. I'm building new bridges now, with someone who actually wants to cross them with me. And Emma is hopefully learning to build her own bridges, instead of expecting other people to carry her across theirs. Actually, there's one more update I should mention. Last week, Emma showed up at my apartment again, but this time I answered the door. She looked terrible. Her hair was messy. She had dark circles under her eyes, and she was wearing clothes I recognized from when we lived together. She'd clearly been crying. Please, she said the moment I opened the door. Please, just give me 5 minutes. I'm begging you. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Emma, we've been through this. There's nothing left to say. There is, she insisted, and I could see her hands shaking. I lost my job. My parents kicked me out because I couldn't help with bills. I'm staying on a friend's couch, but she's getting tired of it. I have nowhere else to go. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it, but I don't know how that involves me. I need help, she said, her voice breaking. I know I don't deserve it. I know I messed up everything, but I don't have anyone else. Alex won't return my calls. My friends are all tired of my drama. You're the only person who ever really cared about me. Emma, you can't do this, I said. You can't treat someone like garbage and then come back when you need help. That's not how relationships work. I know, she sobbed. I know I was terrible to you. I know I lied and cheated and manipulated you. But I've learned my lesson. I've lost everything. Isn't that enough punishment? I looked at her standing there, completely broken down, begging me to save her from the consequences of her own choices. Part of me wanted to help her. The part that had loved her for 2 years, that had worried about her when she was out those nights, that had wanted to build a life with her. But then I remembered how she'd laughed when I'd asked where she was going, how she'd told me I was controlling for wanting basic communication, how she'd let another man pay for expensive dates while I covered her rent, how she'd only decided she loved me when her other option fell through. Emma, you didn't lose everything because of punishment, I said gently. You lost everything because of choices. You chose to lie to me. You chose to emotionally cheat. You chose to spend money you didn't have to impress a man who was using you. Those weren't accidents or mistakes. They were decisions. But I can change, she pleaded. I have changed. I'm different now. You're not different, I said. You're desperate. There's a difference. If you won the lottery tomorrow and had your pick of wealthy men, would you still be here begging me to take you back? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. Emma, I hope you figure things out, I said. I hope you find stable housing and get back on your feet. But I can't be your solution. You need to solve this yourself. So that's it? She asked, mascara running down her cheeks. After everything we had, you're just going to let me be homeless? I'm not letting you be anything, I said. You're an adult who made adult decisions. You wanted independence, remember? You told me you didn't need to answer to me about your life. Well, this is what independence looks like. She stood there for another minute, crying and looking at me like I was the worst person in the world. Finally, she turned and walked away, shoulders shaking with sobs. I closed the door and leaned against it, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for the person she could have been, relief that I wasn't her safety net anymore. About an hour later, I got a text from Sarah asking if I was okay. Apparently, Emma had tried calling her, hoping Sarah could convince me to help. Sarah had told her that wasn't happening, and suggested she call some local resources for people in housing crises. That was 2 days ago. I haven't heard from Emma since, and I won't be answering if she tries to contact me again. For anyone dealing with something similar, trust your gut, respect yourself, and remember that actions have consequences. If someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And if they tell you they don't need to tell you where they go at night, make sure they can afford to go there on their own dime. Sometimes the people who claim they don't need you the most are the ones who need you the most. But needing someone and deserving their help are two very different things.